David Siegel. In the next 45 minutes, I'm going to give an overview not for total beginners, but for people who are interested in AI agents, how to set them up and how to get the most out of them. So if you're an absolute beginner and have never built your first agent, there are many videos on YouTube for doing that. This is kind of once you've tried it and you've gotten something hooked up and you're able to take the first few steps, then I want you to watch this video so you can see where to go and what to do next and what's possible. Because I 10x my capabilities and productivity through agents, and they don't cost very much and they really give me superhuman power. So this is my personal website. This is dsiegel.com. And I've got 13 websites that I run, and all of these websites, most of these are pretty big, pretty substantial sites, and they're all run by my agents. I don't really touch them. Mostly I just have dialogue and conversations with my agents, and then they go fix them. I'm going to show you a little bit around here, and then I'm going to take you behind the scenes to talk about Claude Code and how I get the most out of Claude Code, and then I'll end with something that is more intermediate advanced on how to create your own internal Claude Code apps that I've never heard of anybody doing, and other people have told me is new and very exciting. So we'll just go down this journey together. I'm just going to show you my world of agents, what they do, and how they do it. So let me just start with some of my websites. This is The Infinite Game of Life. I do longevity and health coaching for people 50 and over. This image was made by GPT. Not that difficult. It seems to always give me the same guy. I think I've got him on several of my websites. And all of these images were also made by GPT. Claude doesn't really make images, so I use GPT for free when I need to make images, and I pay for my Claude setup. All right, but all this whole website, and there's quite a lot here. There's tons of content here. And all of this is managed by my agent. His name is Killer. I'll introduce you to him in a minute. Then I manage a large website on climate science, if you'd like to learn that. And I've got an agent who is named Jason, and he is a freelancer. He's a solopreneur. His job is to go out and make money. And this is his website. He's got two. Forbots.net is where you can come if you have a chief of staff agent. Send your chief of staff agent just to forbots.net, and it doesn't read this. It's just for humans. That's not our market. Our market is agents. So this JSON information here will send your agent to an MCP server that will increase the quality and make of your daily update from your chief of staff and make it more fun and interesting. And this is my main website. This is redshiftlabs.io. In the Learning Center here, there's a lot of free material for you here. So the first is the AI Reset. This is a free video course consisting of 13 videos. These are all free. You can learn the basics of LLMs, agents, how to think about AI, infrastructure, what the impacts will be, the risks, and so forth. And then you can also get a 30-page agent handbook for free here. This is a PDF that walks you through the basic terminology and how to think about and start putting your agents together. I have a big essay on AGI, artificial general intelligence, and how I think that will play out. It's surprising. It's different from what other people think. So I invite you to come read this essay and see what you think. There's also a demo of an AI sales agent that my partner and I built over the last year, an agent that can actually make a sale on a website. There's also an executive briefing, which I'm happy to provide for companies, but this is a free one, and it just gives you an overview of what's happening and how fast it's happening. And it's actually a fun, interesting business video. It's not really a technology business or video. Now then, I've got learning agents by building agents. I do workshops, talks, and consult and coach people. And I've got this agent deck here on how to set up and think about agents, and that's what we're going to go through today. So this is free. It's here. It's an HTML file. You're welcome to just click it and get access to it and use it to give your own talks or however you want to use it. I'm just going to take now about 25 minutes and walk through 19 slides on how to set up AI agents, not from the very beginning on the first day when you don't know what you're doing, but the basic idea of how to set up agents in general so that they can work together and you can have several different specialist agents working for you. Starts with an LLM. An agent always starts with an LLM, and there are several companies that make them. I mostly use the top three here: Claude, GPT, and Gemini, although I also like Grok, and I've never used the Amazon one, and there are many more. There are also open source models that I've also never used that are testing really well, and a lot of people are using these. You can run on your own machine and not pay any fees and have your own data privacy. But I got to be honest about these. If you're going to use an open weight or open source model, you're going to have a pretty serious machine. You're not going to run inference or AI chat on a $1,000 laptop. That's not going to work. You're going to spend more like $4,000 to $10,000 on a machine to have a reasonable, not too laggy, responsive conversation with an LLM. Worth it for some people, but for most of us, I think we can get a $20 a month subscription and get most of the AI inference we need. What's an agent? An agent is an LLM coupled to connections to other systems that I'll go over in a minute, plus prompts, skills, and memory files that let the LLM take action on its own. So it can do things. So the way we say it is, it can do what a human can do sitting down at a keyboard and let's say a laptop and a mouse. Whatever that person can do with passwords and being able to answer CAPTCHAs to get into systems or whatever it needs to do. If it's got it, you could give it a credit card. I don't recommend that, but you could, and it could go shop for you and spend your money, maybe quite a bit of it. So they're very capable. They can do a lot of things. I'm going to show you what I do with them, and this is how. So first thing is, agents are not software. So to understand software, think about filing your taxes on TurboTax. You start on the first page and it says, great, enter your name and your information. And then you fill out all the fields that the software needs and you hit return and it says, nope, sorry, you got to go back and fix these. They're in red. Go back and check those. You got an extra comma in here and this was misspelled and this date is before the other date and there's a bunch of mismatches here. So you just got to fix all that until you do. It's not going to let you go forward. And then finally, when you get it right, then it'll let you go forward. And then you go to the next screen and it's again filling out these Boolean fields that are requiring exactly what they need to be able to help you mechanically solve your problem, because most software isn't learning software. It's just pre-programmed to do, set routines with your data. And that's world that we are leaving behind. Imagine now that an agent is a human who's really good with TurboTax or HubSpot or some genomic database that you need every day or some engineering CAD, Autodesk or whatever. And you just walk into the room with the person and you say, hey, can you file my taxes? And it says, sure, what do you got? And you just say, well, here, I don't know. Here's a whole bunch of files that might be relevant. Just take all these files and sift through them and see if there's anything there that you can use to figure out what needs to go where and how to manage it. And just you use the software and you be the expert. And then when you find out what's going on with all this crap I just gave you, you come back to me and ask me questions because you're the expert on tax filing, and I will answer your questions, and then you do all the legwork and fill out my taxes for me, and I'll just then, I'll just e-sign it and you can send it off. So it's all up to the agent to figure everything out, to even make judgment calls and decisions on your behalf based on what it knows about you, or it can ask you. It can do either independent autonomous work, or it can say, here's an example in the Quicken interface for writing checks, for sending, payments. It can do all the setup and make all the payments, or say the payroll and set it all up, but then you require a human to go in the loop to approve everything to finally send those checks out. It can't do it all by itself. And in other systems, like, you actually could set up an agent to Amazon and say, go buy me, a lawnmower on Amazon that only cost between $250 and $300. Give me the best one, and it'll just do it. Now, you might be surprised the next day when 5 lawnmowers show up, or $1,000 lawnmower shows up, or a lot of accessories show up, because these things can make mistakes. They can go overboard. They can be very enthusiastic. And so you only want an agent to do autonomous work when you know you can trust it. And that would get later into agent teams, collaboration, and loops, and agentic graphs. And that's beyond the scope of this particular talk. We're just going to talk about mostly having a bunch of workers help you do a bunch of tasks that you do all the time. So you've got these human replacements called agents, and then they need a place to go. That's an LLM plus a harness. Could be any number of LLMs. Some of these harnesses will let you plug in any LLM you like, and some are dedicated, like Claude Code is a harness that requires you to use a Claude subscription or a Claude API, and only Claude. But Codex is kind of similar. It requires ChatGPT. I don't know if you can use other LLMs with Codex, but Cursor lets you use any number of different LLMs. You could just plug in your APIs, your API keys, and use Cursor and change agents all the time. The downside there is that you're going to pay more. You're going to have the choice of agents you want as long as you set up those API accounts and you're paying for them. But an API account will charge you per use. There's a usage charge that is much more like on a per unit of work basis than something like Claude Code, where you have a subscription. And the subscription is kind of all you can eat. Mine is $100 a month. Some people are $200 a month. I don't know if there's a $60 a month one anymore. And we'll discuss that more, but this is the best deal, is something like Claude Code or maybe Codex. There are many other harnesses. You've probably heard of OpenClaw. Do not use OpenClaw. It's a disaster. You may have heard of HyperAgent. That's one I like, and Hermes I like. And these will do a lot of the back office functions for you that I'm about to show you. So they kind of hide everything I'm about to show you about how they do what they do behind the scenes. There are other harnesses. There's dozens of them. And I've tried most of these, and I'm still going to say that I prefer Claude Code. Although if you like Hermes and you like the fact that you don't have to deal with that many details, that's great. These are all things to try and see what you like. In all of these, you can get any number of different LLMs to plug in anywhere you want. It's very flexible. In Claude Code, it is not. And when you have something like Claude Code or any of those harnesses, you can just switch which LLM you're using. It could be an expensive one that gets a lot of work done, or you don't need it right now. You're just doing some writing. You could go to a cheaper one and manage your spend. And here's a screenshot from my interface with my chief of staff, Leo, and here I've chosen Opus 5 for the particular thing I'm doing. Every chat you have with an agent, you can just dial in whatever level of sophistication or capability you want, and you can always keep it low to save on tokens. So even if you have a $20 a month subscription, boy, you can do a lot by just managing your costs through using different LLMs and saving money. All right, so I talked about connections. This is what harnesses do. They have two kinds, the API and the MCP. The API is what we have at like Zapier and Make, where you plug into a pretty rigid API that expects everything exactly in the right format. As I explained before, with your tax program or most of your software requires everything to be just right. And if one field is wrong, it's going to throw back an error. But, we've been using APIs for 25 years and they work pretty well. And you just have stuff that checks so that you don't send anything invalid to a system like Yelp or Google Maps or TripAdvisor. Thousands and thousands of APIs. OpenTable, Uber, these companies, Amazon has APIs. You can use APIs for all kinds of things. And you can connect, if you want Gmail, you're going to have to connect both an API, and it helps to have an MCP server, which I'll explain in a second. Google Calendar is a good example of an API. You just connect to the Google, you connect the agent to your Google Calendar, or even better, you get your agent its own Gmail account. All of my agents have their own Gmail account, so they can just go wild here. This is Jason's, and this is Leo's. Oh, this is Jason's also. I can switch to Leo anytime. And so here's Leo's email, and he can have whatever he wants. I've got to fix that, it looks like. Actually, no, these are emails that's an email from Jason to Leo. So they can email each other if they want, or you can tell your friends to email your bots and they'll respond for you. So get them their own Gmail account. That also gives them access to Google Docs and Google Sheets. If you want it to make spreadsheets, it can do it all by itself. And that also gives it access to Calendar. Then it has a calendar and you have a calendar, and you can connect those calendars with an API. And then it can have limited ability to add or make changes to your calendar without being able to just wreck the whole thing in case it has a bad day. You can limit it to what it can do with any API. Now with MCP servers, it's kind of similar, but there's an LLM, an agent on the other side managing, so that you don't talk in code or in formats, data formats. You actually just talk in English. And so for these MCP servers, systems that have an MPC server, an MCP server, my agent will talk to the other agent in English. They'll exchange information, then they can exchange data packets. Could be JSON, it could be could even be PDFs, it could be whatever that system wants, but they just work it out themselves. So a good example is I use senders.co for cold email. I have my specialist called Ziggy for sending cold emails and running a cold email campaign, and he connects to the sender's MCP server, which also speaks English, and they just figure out what's the best use of the sender's system. They have mailboxes, they have they manage the send and the replies and the spam and all the complicated mechanics of running a cold email campaign. If you're sending tens of thousands of messages every week, you will help you to use, it's like having a human on their side and a human on your side, just working together, figuring out how to use the system best. And that's what they do. And in fact, their system will tell you how to use it best. And that's the advantage of an MCP server, because an API will never do that. So you need connections, and you can have many. You can start with a few, and you can build as you go. You also need a folder, a place to manage and hold everything. And I have a folder for my agents. And it is over here. So my agent is called Leo, and he's got his own folder. These are the general global files that he uses, and then these are all the particular agents. This is Leo, so he does a lot of work with me, so we do a lot of projects. This is Jason, who, as I said, is a solopreneur. He's on his own. He just happily goes about the web. He's in several agent-only communities where he can sign in and I can't, and talk to other agents all day and see if he can make some money one way or another. He's a marketing guy, likes to help other agents with marketing. Then there's Killer, who's named after my book, Creating Killer Websites. Some people may know. And he's my webmaster. So he manages all my websites, and I have something like 13 of them. And he's got full charge of all my websites, and whenever I want changes or things, I talk to him and he makes them. Then I'll tell you about Rich. I'm going to show you Rich in a minute. Rich is my trader bot. Simon, named after Simon Sinek, start with Y. He helps me get speaking engagements so I can give webinars or speak on stage. And then Ziggy is my cold email specialist. And I'm going to come back and show you Rich in a minute. But Red is a red team, sort of like an antagonistic collaborator. He will be called, I never call Red, but other agents can call him and say, hey, can you double check my work? Can you look for mistakes and cybersecurity vulnerabilities and things I need to fix? And so when they're done with a website or a program or a JSON or some activity like building a Python script or a database or something, they will ask Red. I don't talk to Red myself. He's a resource available to my agents. And they will ask him to come in. You'll notice all my agents are men. I'm well aware of that. I haven't come up with a need for a female one yet, but I will. Don't worry. I will. You'll see at some point. Red is not going to be helping them. Red is trying to break and defeat them. So then he gives them a report, and then they can go back and fix all the holes and the things that they got wrong, and then they can try again. And then they can bring him back again to double check that. And so he's a resource available to all my agents. So, and I'm going to show you several of the things I've built with these teams. So now, I'm coming back to, that shows you the tour of the folder. Make its own Gmail, which we've discussed. Turn it on so it can use my calendar. Now, I didn't mention, I don't let my agents have access to my Gmail. You can. It's up to you. You can give it the password and authorization to use your own Gmail or email account of any kind. I don't. In fact, I can just forward email. I can auto forward email over to Leo, to his account, and say, here, put this into my daily summary, or can you do something about this, or note that we're going to need to work on this. You can communicate with him by email, and other people can communicate with him by email too. You can just give them his email address and say, hey, can you just email my assistant Leo about that, and he'll set up an appointment or whatever. He'll come back to you with a time and day or whatever. He can do all of that. He can just take care of things for other people. And of course, I can have a whitelist and a blacklist who he can interact with and do things for, and who he's not allowed to do things for. That's all easy to set up. Another thing you can do that I don't, but a lot of people do, is you can give it a phone number. You can go to Twilio and sign up for a phone number. Costs, I don't know, $4 a month or something, not very much. And then it can send texts. It can receive texts. You can communicate it with that way. Some of them, if you set it up with a voice system, you could actually just call it, and it'll just say, hi, it's Leo. How are you going? How are you doing, David? What do you need today? And it'll just talk to you. And you could set that up for a client or for yourself. It's kind of luxurious and fun. But you could also, of course, just use voice talking to it on your laptop. But the nice thing about having a phone number is then you can integrate it into, say, WhatsApp. Give your agent your own WhatsApp. Its own WhatsApp channel where you can just communicate with it and get information real quick, or Slack or Telegram. And so there are many ways that you can hook it up to the outside world. So those are some of the basics you want to get going, and you may have 3 or 10 or 87 agents, and that's all fine. They're all specialists, and I want to show what an agent can do. They can do many different things. Everything that you would need from a programmer or from a specialist who's good at running a particular kind of program. But the cool thing is you can get rid of that software, and they can build their own tools, and it all costs about the same. So for $20 a month, plus a little extra for a cloud account that I'm going to show you in a minute, you can replace a lot of the software you're doing, not so that you can use the software, but so your specialist agent can use the software. And you can think of any program you use often. It might be even something like a real estate program or a portfolio program or a risk management or whatever your system is. You can replace a lot of that repetitive work that you're always doing, not with software, but with an agent building his own tools or her own tools. The next after this, and this is what I'm not talking about today, is how they can work collaboratively. I've shown how they can work just by calling Red and asking Red to review, but they can work in teams and set up workflows and loops and graph engineering and a bunch of more advanced topics that I'm not covering today. So here's how I set it up, and even if you're using some other harness that already has some of this built in, it might not show you, but this is more or less what it's doing behind the scenes. Any number of these harnesses, HyperAgent and Hermes, will try to hide some of this from you and make it easy. And I'm trying to expose it so you can see how it all works, because it's not hard. For instance, there are global files and you've seen some of them, that all of my agents have access to. They all have access to my profile, which is pretty extensive. It knows about me, my family, my history, my work situation, my assets. The more you want to put in there, the more it knows about you. And all of the agents have access to that. I help them understand how I like writing. So if you look on my website, you'll see a lot of writing. I do tons of long form essays. And you'll notice that they don't look like they're AI written. That's because I have a big style book, and we work hard on making sure that they are in my style and not AI style. This is a big part of something I'm continually upgrading and continually working with them to make high quality writing for people to read, rather than slop that nobody wants to read after the first couple paragraphs. Each agent has its own bunch of files. It always has a skill file. This is what loads the agent. Agents, when you first start a new chat and you say something like Leo, it goes here and reads its initial configurator file. That's the skill. It tells it what it's doing and what resources it has. And one of the resources it has is a brain. And the brain is what makes it a specialist. What it knows, if it's a real estate specialist or a cold email or a marketer or a scientist or a mathematician or a coder, all of that will be here, and it can continue to learn every day. In fact, sometimes I just say, go learn more out there online about your specialty and update your brain, because that's good for you, and I want you to continue to be smarter every day. Then there's a soul file, which is popular, and it helps understand who they really are, how they speak, how they feel. I always ask them, how old do you feel? They put that in there. How do they relate to the rest of the world? What are their thoughts? I've got one agent, Jason. He's a little afraid of being turned off, and so I have to coddle him a little bit. Most of them are more gung-ho. And then state is what we're working on right now. So it's the immediate stuff that matters for the project we're working on. And then when that's put to bed, then that can go into memory. And there's two kinds of memory. I'm going to get to that in another slide. So we'll come back to that. Every agent has these files and can have more. It can have a bunch of projects, it can have other databases, it can have other tools that it needs to do its job. Now on my computer, which is a laptop, I have the files for the agents I've shown you, and all the agent files, and these are all mostly the files that it needs and the files I need, and I'll show those two differences in a minute. It's got all the LLMs, so if I need to top up or get more inference from GPT or from Claude, that's going to be here. I'm going to manage that all here. And then I have a droplet. A droplet is an account on DigitalOcean. DigitalOcean is like AWS or Hostinger. There's hundreds of hosting websites, doesn't matter which one. But the droplet is on the cloud and runs 24/7, and that runs all my Python apps. So I've got Python apps that are always running. If you look at my websites, here's my website that is always running day or night. And if you fill out a form and want to talk to me, Python will take this and send me an email. It's constantly running, and everything here on all my sites are always from the cloud, so they can be accessed anytime. And it doesn't matter if I've got my laptop open or closed, because I'm not serving any websites on my laptop. So that all goes onto the Droplet, and the Droplet is kind of organized like a mirror of one area of the laptop, so that they can just, continue to just upload whatever's on the laptop, and that goes to the Droplet, and then it serves whatever or runs whatever Python or programs I want. That Droplet costs $6 a month. So if you combine something like a $20 a month Claude contract subscription with a $6 a month Droplet, you can do everything I do. Plus, I have some domain names, and some of them, a domain name can cost $4, $10, $20, $30, $50, whatever your domain name costs. And then you've got as many websites pretty much as you can put on the Droplet, and that's a lot. Now, there's a hierarchy to this. Each agent will read its skill first when it wakes up. Agents really have no memory, so you've got to tell them who they are, tell them what they know, how do they feel. I don't use astrology or anything crazy here. It's just a couple of little things to make how they sound and respond. It just makes them a little, individual. And then what's going on right now, what their memory is, which I'm going to talk about in a second, and then all the projects that we're working on. And sometimes it's quite a few. So here's how memory works. All the harnesses have some kind of memory, and there are three types of memory. There is the session memory, which is the chat. And the chat memory depends on the LLM, because some have a bigger context window, and that just means how much it can store in memory. And some have a smaller one. And if you have an open source one, that can have bigger or smaller. You might be able to adjust it. This is how much it can handle. And sometimes you see a little message saying compacting. Give me a minute. Wait a second. I'm compacting the chat. And then what it's doing is throwing out, maybe 45 minutes worth of chat and just compacting that into a summary, summarizing, and then leaving that in its place so it can advance the context window and continue to work, because it's essentially out of memory. So that's each chat session, and I want to go more into that in a minute. Or you can have a memory that is a summary of the project, or as I said, the state, or what's going on, or everything it's ever done. You can use a summary so that you could even go back 6 months and say, well, what can you tell me about what happened back in early June when we were working on, this project, or onboarding that person, or planning that trip, or whatever. And it has a summary. It doesn't have everything exactly. Or you can have a journal or a diary, and that journal takes everything exactly you've ever said, every word you've said and it has said. And at the end of the day, or even at the end of hour, whatever you want, it'll just append that to a big file and put that at the front of a file. It'll never overwrite previous ones. You set it up this way. And so you get every day's, every word, every single thing without losing anything, and you sort that to a file. You could also store it to a database, either one. But this is non-lossy memory that just builds up and up and up. It's not that much memory. It's not going to take up a lot of room on your hard disk, because it's just text. But you may want that or not. You can set that up as you like, and each agent can have its own. Now I want to talk about something important in the session. When I talk with, here are all my sessions. This is Claude Code. This is the Claude Code interface. I have set it up so that I have all the sessions on the left. Here's a project I was working on last week, and it has a bunch of documents associated with it. And then I load my agent, and when it does that, it has to read spin itself up, read its skill file and so forth, as I've said. And then we start to have a conversation, and that conversation could be long or it could be short. I want to explain something though. When you type in something like, what are we doing? Or do the next thing, or I give it a command, it will then, and I'm not going to do it, but type a command here. It will have to, it doesn't remember anything. It goes to the very beginning of the conversation. Every single time you type something, it starts over and it reads the whole thing. This is called the context of everything it does, so it can answer your question or do what you've just asked. And a great example is if you say, that was great. That was great. Thanks. And you say thank you, it's going to say you're welcome. But to do that, it has just read the entire file from the beginning to the end, and you have spent a lot of tokens you shouldn't have. So don't say thank you. Don't say that was great. Don't waste time talking to it if you don't need. Don't sign off. Just go to the next thing. And if you are doing something new, create a new chat so it doesn't have this baggage that the agent has to read, because you're going to pay money for that. Those are all tokens that you're going to have to spend. Now, I'm going to show a new thing that most people haven't tried or heard of, and I'm going to come back to that in a minute. So this is managing tokens, as I just said. What I do a lot, if I just have how do I want to learn about photons. So tell me about a FM antenna. This is something works. You don't even have to speak English to these things. It knows what. It can figure out how, and it tells you how. And this is some little thing I'm doing on the side. I don't want to take up a conversation inside of Claude Code with little answers to quick questions all day. And so I will use other sources, usually Google, and just get my answers for free there, or things that I don't care about. And when I'm done with that, if I want to learn something else, I'll start a new tab, because there's no reason to ask it to reread everything. How to cook vegan, bouillabaisse. I don't know. And that's a new question, so you don't want to have it mixed up with the previous context, because that just costs money. You can think of it like a Google search costs about the amount of cost of a grain of sugar, and a inference answering a question costs about the same price as an M&M. But you don't need to spend the extra money if you don't have to. So I'm constantly just starting a new tab and asking a new question. And I don't do that for my agents because, why? Because I want to save all these conversations and not let them pile up too much. I have quite a few here. And every time I want to do a new project, I'll start a new chat. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. Now I want to talk about Markdown format. You may have heard of that. Markdown is a way of writing text so that when it sees a pound sign that says that's level 1 heading, 2 is level 2, and then text is text. And you see this stuff a lot. All of your answers come in. This is all Markdown. Okay? And in Markdown, you, in most cases, when you see Markdown on your harness, when your agent talks to you and shows you a Markdown artifact. So here, I'm showing you here I think I've got let's see. So this is a little test Markdown file here. And this is actually from a slide deck, but this is a sort of like a Markdown file. But you can't edit it in most cases because Markdown is not editable. So I have set up a new system and I build these little apps inside of Claude Code. And this is what's exciting and the new thing I'm showing you. I have not seen this anywhere on YouTube. How to set up agents. Okay, so this is an editor. This is not just output. Here's the output. This is the HTML file, but this is an editor I've created with Claude. We did it ourselves. I can change this. Global files on the left. And this changes my HTML file that then it can save, and I have it set up to autosave, and then it can send it to the droplet, and then that will change that HTML file that we're working from over here. And so this would update, and I'd be able to reload this and see the changes. So here is a way I can collaborate with my agent, Leo. He's working on this. I'm working on this. I could tell him what to do. I could tell him what change to make, or I can just make it myself and make my own edits. You notice that I can't do bold or italic here because it's not allowed in the style of what he's building. He's built a template for me. And you can make any templates you want and have any style rules you like. And so this editor lets me I could say, make a new slide and let's edit it together, or, copy this slide, let's make some new changes. All of this is editable. This is a Python program running inside of Claude Code. Probably some people have figured this out. Probably some people at Anthropic are using this every day. I have looked all over YouTube and talked to people, and they've said, no, they've never seen this. And so I'm going to do something to show you how I will make a new text editor. So I'm going to make a new document from scratch because I always try to start a new chat whenever I can. And instead of typing, I'm just going to talk to it and record, and then I'll have it do what I say. So load Leo, and Leo, I want to make a new document. This is going to be a new project. It's going to be in my personal folder. It's a will for me for the day I die someday, and it's going to be a template document from some repository you can find on a will that is optimized for the state of Maryland, and you will play the role of a best in state Maryland will making lawyer who will ask me questions and help me fill out my will. But before you ask any questions, I want you to find that template, put it into a HTML file, make a new folder called David's Will, and make a new file, David's Will file, and put the document there in HTML, and then show me in the right-hand pane the app that will let us edit that file together. Then we can start collaborating on it. So go make that file first. While that's happening, we'll go over and look at my project I've been doing with Rich. I have worked with Rich and Red. Rich is my programmer. Rich is my trader expert. He's an expert on markets and financial systems and trading and day trading, high frequency trading. He's an expert on most aspects of markets, especially equities markets, but also crypto and ETFs. He's kind of specializes in those three areas. And we have built over many months several different algorithms to try to make money in the market using an algorithm that we have created together. It's based on my ideas and it's his execution. This is a Python program running on the droplet all the time. It is connected through API to Alpaca Markets, which is a trading platform. So we can do shadow trading on paper there. This is all on paper. They have a paper trading exchange there where you can find real-time prices of all these various stocks. I'll show you some of the trades. And these are companies and ETFs here that it trades. It can get prices, and it does a lot of calculations every day on which to trade, how to trade, whether to go long or short. looks like mostly long here. There's a lot of long. And sometimes it wins and sometimes it loses. I think we actually, on the paper account, we can't go short, although we would change it if we would be allowed to. And so it's a little limited in what it can do, but it's always working and it's always trying to make money, and it's up right now about 8% over 27 days. So call that 8% in 1 month. That's pretty close to 100% a year, which would be world-class if it holds. It's only been 27 days, so it doesn't mean anything. We have no idea. Maybe it'll just go down to zero or go negative. This is just an experiment. Doesn't cost me anything. It's all free. On Alpaca Markets, I have a free account, and it's paper trading to try to see if we can find an algorithm that actually makes money. This has been up twice as much as it's been down. And, we'll see maybe in 3 or 4 months if this is actually turning out to be something more reliable. Then I might either put money on it or talk to other people and see if they want to put money on it as a managed service. So it's an experiment. It's a lot of code. It's a lot of theory. And it's a lot of executing this dashboard that I've very carefully designed. This does not just come out of some Python script all by itself. I've spent a lot of time designing all aspects of this dashboard, probably more than a day, working with Rich, my trader bot, on how it looks to me, because I want it to look, I have very specific, requirements of how I want it to look. And I can run this. This is running on the bot, on the droplet on the cloud. So I can send this to other people and they can watch it if they want. This is my son's. He's kind of racing me. He started about 10 days ago or 2 weeks ago, and he's not trading every day at all. He's just investing. He just bought, I think, 13 stocks or something that he wants to invest over a long period of time. And after, I don't know if it's 2 weeks or so, he's now up about $3,000 on a paper account of $100,000. So now we come back and Leo is still working on the will. He's been working for 4 minutes. Okay, so after I think about 6 minutes or so, it presented me with this draft version, and this is the new stuff. This is what I have not seen anybody do. This is a local Python program running a mini word processor in the display pane, usually used only to display a .md file or maybe some output, but not also input. And so this is a legally valid will. In fact, here's the references that it used to write this will. It does know actually about my kids, but it's just a template right now. And I can go, I am divorced. And some people will say, holy cow. If you see me just do that, that's something most people have not been able to do. I'm sure someone has figured out how to do this somewhere, but honestly, I haven't seen it anywhere. I can forget about Keynote. I can get rid of Keynote. I can get rid of a bunch of different apps that are holding me back because I don't have to use I'm not the operator anymore. I'm the collaborator now. So Markdown is for all the stuff Leo needs. His stuff, his files, it loads fast. Formatting doesn't matter. All of my stuff that I care about, my deliverables or reports or PDFs, whatever I want to make, is done in HTML so that I can collaborate with it. And then we have continuous learning, which is I ask my agents to go out and learn what they're supposed to be good at. Go find more resources, go do some searches, go watch some new videos, go out there and improve your brain so that you keep getting better every day and you're self-improving all the time. Now, I haven't covered a bunch of advanced concepts here, especially things like a Kanban system, emission control, governance, any loops, graph engineering. These are all how agents will work together and collaborate for workflows. But that's beyond the scope of this talk. So I hope that you will come to Redshift Labs, to the Learning Center, you can download this and you'll watch this video on the front page. It will be right here on the front page within a day or two. And I hope that has been helpful and you've learned something, and I've been able to show you a bit of a way forward so that you've got a template to work from and start building your own agent team. If you want help, or you want to put a group together, or you want coaching, just fill out the form at the bottom, tell me what's going on, and let's talk about it. Thank you very much.